All right, so we're going to get started. Thank you all for joining. Today we've got a lot to cover in a half hour, including how DPR chose to get started with UAVs, what immediate value they received from implementing this technology, and some recommendations for what you need in order to set up your UAV program. So I have my partner in crime, Mark Robertson, on the phone as well. Thanks, Mark. So this is the agenda of everything we're going to cover today. And whether it's a one-man show or enterprise-wide, we really hope this presentation arms all of you with a framework on how to get buy-in for kickstarting your own UAV program with your stakeholders. So you'll notice within the webinar window, you can enter questions at any point. Feel free to submit them. It won't distract us, and we'll be recording this presentation as well. So we'll be sending you a copy immediately after to the email that you registered with. Mark, if you want to advance one more. So my name is Jackie Gilbo. I've been in the construction technology space for about 10 years now, and I'm your host for today's webinar. I'm the marketing director for SkyCatch, which is an end-to-end aerial data platform that gives you everything you need to capture, process, and plan on industrial job sites at scale. Our product is tailored to the enterprise client with unlimited flights, uploads, and sharing. So at the end, we'll talk about more about what this means and how you can get your hands on it. So now I'm excited to introduce our presenter today, Mark Robertson. He's been in the game for a long time, and to say that he's an expert in the construction technology space is really an understatement. He's a technologist that focuses on testing, implementing, and scaling new tools that can improve site capture and management throughout DPR's nationwide sites. And outside of this webinar, Mark is really someone who enjoys sharing what he's learned from his hands-on experiences and genuinely enjoys the chance to potentially make the lives of the UAV communities a little easier by sharing what he knows. So big thank you to Mark. So before we get started though, I want to launch a quick poll. That's who we are, and we want to get to know you guys a little better and what your experience with drones are. So I'm going to launch this poll real quick. And if you could take a second and vote so we can see what your experiences are, that would be awesome. Mark, it looks like you got some really experienced pilots. Awesome, that looks about almost like everybody. So it looks like we have majority very experienced pilots. So Mark can definitely speak to that language. That's fantastic. So Mark, if you wanna go ahead and take over.
For sure, thanks Jackie. Hello everyone, today I'm going to start off with a little bit about myself, then a little bit about DPR, and then go into how we use SkyCatch and UAVs on our projects. So I've actually got about 20 years experience in the construction industry. Most of that was land survey. I've been with DPR for about 3.5 years, and like most of us, wear many hats throughout our day-to-day activity. DPR Construction, they've always been a technical builder. Started in 1990. Ranked in the top 10, that was never really their goal. It was really just to be a mid-sized builder, but just kind of the way things have happened and the talent that we've picked up and the projects that we've been able to accomplish has really got us to that point. We're up to about 7,000 employees, and for quite a bit of time, since 2014, we've been using UAVs along with SkyCatch. So it's been a great partnership. Historically, myself included, a little skeptical about using a drone on a job site. It's outside of a few pictures, we really had no idea the data that we could really get from a platform like SkyCatch and what drones can actually provide you, the data that they actually collect. So with monthly calls, testing and development over the last years, we've really bonded with SkyCatch and have a very strong relationship with their support and as them being a service provider. The dashboard is really laid out simple. It's, it's not over-engineered and confusing, yet it still provides a lot of great tools. We did sign January 1st, we did sign an enterprise agreement with SkyCatch, and that is for 100 projects. We'll kind of go from there. It's been a really good journey. Currently, I'm on a project where there's a lot going on, and using a mapping mission, really it captures a lot of what's going on all over the project at once. And so flying a couple of times a week, you can really see progress, and you can start to track things and get a good idea of what's going on. Why UAVs? So that was a good question when we got started. And now we're at the point to where if we don't have them, we feel like we're really missing something. When people on projects that utilize platforms like SkyCatch, they go to another project, I get calls, hey, can we start SkyCatch out here? We need to start flying. And, it's good to have people that leave here that are used to using that information on a daily basis and needing that. So it's really about, once you get your foot in the door and you start, using these 2D ortho maps, or, start flying with drones and sharing that information, it really becomes a part of what people expect. And then when you get new projects and they get a new project team, we've noticed that it's really spreading faster than we thought. So it's now we're at the point that we don't need buy-in, but I know a lot of people still do. A lot of companies operate differently, and you have different clients and different needs. But we're at the point now. It's just a matter of trying to work it in the bid and proposal, so the money's there for it, not having to fight after the fact for something like this to hit overhead. Or when we talk about all the things that we can get out of flying a drone over a job site, we have just about anybody, right? You're going to have your weekly reports, so cover photos, updated aerial imagery is always kind of a nice thing to have front and center there when you're talking about your project, whether it's with your project team or your client or really anybody. Video fly-throughs, those are something that we do weekly, where we can fly around the site and give people that video feed of what's going on, as opposed to a photo. The ortho map is probably, I would say, 95% of what people really use and need out here, or most of our projects. Safety reports, we all, most of your companies have a safety team, or at least someone that represents safety. And, one of their responsibilities is to, keep up with safety reports that show, what's moving, what to look out for. And we'll kind of go into some of these examples later. And another one is the map for visitors, which, with things changing all the time, it's always good to give people a heads up when you have a visitor coming on site, to go ahead and shoot them an email of what the site looks like, and then you can annotate that and show them exactly what to come in and expect. So that's been really helpful. So the reports that go out, they can tell a client or your project team what's going on where. It helps superintendents or anybody that needs to do general coordination. Measurement tools are really nice. A lot of people are surprised when they realize that the data that comes from a drone, it actually has, each pixel actually has a coordinate and elevation really tied to it. So getting accurate measurements and volume calcs too. Overlays are huge for site logistics and general coordination, but you can also do progress tracking, which is that, we'll get to that a little bit later as well. So the dashboard is actually quite simple. Right now it doesn't look like it because I've got all the pop-ups out and there's annotations everywhere, but when you first see the dashboard, it's very simple, it's clean. The icons, nothing's confusing to you. On the left side, you'll see where there are the overlays. When you upload a PDF, any of your drawings, you can upload a drawing and then you can overlay it to the site and turn that on and off, and you can turn on multiple. It's been huge for coordinating on the project. You have calendar there, which it's really easy to kind of toggle back and forth in time and compare what's been going on. The neat thing about this is when you zoom into a certain area of the project and then you go back or forth in the calendar, it keeps the same viewpoint. So that's a pretty neat feature as well. On the right side, you'll see your exports. So, a high definition TIFF file or a PDF, and any of your point clouds you can export as well. There's a ton of exports for different applications, but probably something for you in there somewhere. But this is actually one of the easiest dashboards that I've seen. So this is kind of talking on the visitors, right? So you get somebody coming on site, maybe they haven't been here at all, maybe they haven't been here in a while, things change. So this is just a really easy way of showing somebody what to expect. I know sometimes your GPS will send you to the other side of a project and really kind of get things confused, but this is a very simple tool. You can just shoot this as an email to who's ever coming. You can take a picture of it and text it to them if they're already traveling. So just another really good use of something that we already have that we're doing for ourselves. So on the left, you can see where this is actually from one of our safety reports, and it shows, the ingress, egress of, how to get around and where foot traffic is, where vehicular traffic is. And since these are daily, maybe nothing changes daily, but it does give everyone a current look at where to go and how to travel across the job site safely. One of the great tools on the right, you'll see where superintendents, when they're trying to do their site logistics for an area or for a building, with where the steel laydown area is, where we're going to put parking, where connexes are going to go, just kind of sit here and you can really kind of orchestrate where you want to put things. And then with the overlays, you can make sure that, it's not going to affect future work and then have to be relocated because of it. That's probably one of the biggest for superintendents. And what they'll do is they'll print off one of these large maps, put it on their desk and put, 1/4-inch plexiglass over it, so that when people come to their desk and people are talking about what's going on and where, you can use a dry erase marker and kind of sit there and contemplate things and get a good game plan down. So let's see, critical safety inspections. So we had an issue a while back and it was pretty scary, but over the weekend, we had our steel guys park their lattice cranes on a pad, getting ready to erect some steel. And we had a ton of rain over the weekend. And there was a grade beam that they had over excavated. And then after they set the grade beam and poured it, they backfilled. Well, they didn't get as good a compaction as they needed in the backfill compared to the pad. So over the weekend, with all the rain we had, one of the tracks of the crane actually sunk, and it was a very large lattice crane, was leaning over quite a bit. So the first thing that happened was the safety team reached out to our team and asked if there was any way the drone could help figure out how tall the crane was and how far away from the road it was. We had a highway nearby, and from the ground, it looked just about the same distance. Ended up not being, but at the time they didn't know this, and steel wasn't on site, so the cab was locked, with the pick plan. And kind of the old way of doing it would have been having to find the pick plan somewhere and then using a tape measure to actually, physically and dangerously figure out those measurements. So yeah, they reached out. We went out there. Here's actually a photo of it. I flew up to the top of the flag on top of the lattice and got that measurement, and then from the remote control measured from there out to the highway, and we realized that we were good. They were still thinking, well, what if it shatters and this debris goes out to the highway? Do we need to shut this highway down when we get ready to try to move this thing in case it tips over? So luckily with those measurements, we were actually able to find out that there was a berm on the property line, a pretty tall berm, and it was actually going to fall short of that berm. So likely anything, if it had fallen, likely nothing would have gone past that berm anyway. So we were good there. After all was said and done, they came up with a good plan and got it out of there, and it was a good day after that. But yeah, definitely we learned a lot from that because of compaction, and the steel guys stopped parking where there was backfill. But anyways, kind of scary. So let me go back here. So enabling remote work. We have found out that we can actually use videos and photos from the drone to have someone approve something from far away. A lot of our clients, they build stuff all over the place, but they have these architects or, the design team, or they have people that they use, not just somebody that's local to the project. So a lot of that involves travel. And this landscape architect is, far away. So that requires a trip and a lot of, time on the site. So we figured if we could, use stakes and lay out where all the trees are going to go and the irrigation system, and actually get a good look at the berms. We flew really low and flew, up and down the berm. It was about a quarter mile. And just by sending that email with that video on it, they gave approval for that. So that saved a lot of money and a lot of time on everybody's part, just to get that remote verification. So, and since then we've done it on more and more things, roofs. Whenever you do a punch list on a roof, it's actually a lot safer, quicker, and easier just to go up there and run some video or take some photos and get approval that way. It's we've really kind of been impressed on how many different ways we can actually use UAVs on our projects. So this is kind of the old way of doing it, and it's there's a lot to it, right? It's a 2 or 3 day process, just for someone to fly out here and spend the day, and maybe another day if they've got to change some things before he makes an approval. And then here is kind of the new way where now we're flying things and just sending that data. So over time, this saves a lot of money, and it really kind of helps the schedule move along. Capturing unmodeled items is another good one. And FYI, this is not, you can see down there, this is not on DPR projects. So yeah, I didn't walk around the site yesterday and take these photos, but temporary underground is pretty serious because it's never modeled, and a lot of times it's never surveyed. It's just kind of one of those things that's thrown in the ground and forgotten. So when we can actually take advantage of coordinating this with our UAV flights, we can grab all that stuff and we can archive it, and we know where it's at. We just need to remember what dates that was flown on. But the kind of the old way and new way is you would have to hire a surveyor to actually, or get the surveyor out there if you didn't have one on site, tie those points down, and then someone would have to manage. Also, you could 2-tape things in, and it's just a lot of work, and who even knows if you're keeping up with that information when you need it down the road. So this is actually an example of that. This was a temp housing, and they wanted to capture where all the temp power was going and the plumbing. So we just coordinated the flight with him spray painting that down. And, you know, he saved the date. And, you know, if he ever needs it with that measuring tool, this is just a great way that you can go into SkyCatch, pull this flight up, use the measuring tool, and you can get a dimension to any of that, any point on here really, but more importantly to the spray paint. You can locate that Y right there, and you know, any of these elbows, all the critical stuff. So this is, again, just another way that we've found. And invoice verification. So it's really kind of the honor system when, you know, a large project and there's a heavy schedule or aggressive schedule, and you know, there's something going on where things need to change, or you know, whether it's, you know, your fault, whether it's a design change by the client. So, you know, there's a lot of change orders going out, and it's one of those things, you know, it's just like, go do it, we'll figure it out, right? So a lot of times you get these invoices after the fact, and, you know, maybe you haven't checked to make sure. You want to hope that everybody's being honest, but this is just kind of a back check or a safety net that we've found where we've gone back to review the SkyCatch flights and have actually found that some were not being honest, and it did save quite a bit off that invoice because we were able to prove you know, that no, it didn't take you this long, you know, or this equipment sat and you said you were being held up, but clearly you weren't, you were just undermanned. And so, you know, you try to get sneaky, but you know, it's kind of the new way of doing this is if you're flying Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or on the weekends, or, you know, Tuesday, Thursday, and you're catching all the work that's being, you know, done out there in the field, you can establish timelines, you can establish manpower, equipment, exactly what they needed. That, again, as long as this is outside, right? Nothing in the building, but you know, on the roof, any of your civil, you'll be able to actually manage those invoices on, you know, change orders. And oh, well, another thing too, we actually took this slide out, or these few slides out, so I'm going to hit that right quick. We ended up having about 62 slides for a 30-minute presentation, so we had to chop a lot out of here, and there's really so much to talk about, and unfortunately we can't hit all of it. But another thing for the verification for critical inspections, we had some louver walls up on second story, and some of them were leaking. Superintendent came over and said, hey, can we use the drone to go up there and take pictures at all the corners? We found there's a couple with leaks, but I need to check them all. And that would have required a boom lift, probably messing up some landscaping and some irrigation. But we were actually able just to walk around, fly the drone, and get pictures at every corner of these louver walls and actually see which ones were leaking, which ones were good. And it saved a lot of time and money on that as well. So how we established our program. So it doesn't happen overnight, right? But you know, just, you know, maybe it's a bigger project, maybe it's one where you have somebody there that's a pilot and can you know, can try to get the ball rolling for starting a UAV program, whether it's for your project or whether it's for you know, your company. But you know, obviously when someone calls and says, hey, we have this project, we'd like to fly it, you know, and whether that's for photos or whether that's for mapping missions. But you know, first thing obviously is checking the airspace, right? Getting that address and running it through. FAA has they have a website that they want you to check, the actual official website that shows the airspaces and how high you're allowed to go. But then, you know, obviously Part 107 certified. And this is really kind of, this is with our company. We really prefer, if anyone's going to fly solo, that they have 25 hours of logged experience into Skyward, and then, you know, about 50 hours before you can actually train others. So gives you kind of, you know, I think at 25 hours, you've kind of seen a little bit, you know, different environments, different projects, different, you know, weather situations. So, you know, and then getting your flight in, going to Skyward, logging your flight, you know, which aircraft you use, that has a lot to do with our insurance. And then on this optimization, it kind of ties into this next slide. But really, when you go to fly somewhere, there's different ways that you can get what you need depending on what you're after, right? If it's a dirt takeoff, if you're wanting quantities for cut fill analysis, you'll probably want to do a cross hatch, which is, one map one way like it's showing here, and then going back and doing it again, but turning your waypoints to a 90-degree angle so you get it from the other way as well. Maybe try to fly as low as possible and get good front lap and side lap. So another thing too is when you're setting up your perimeter, if you look in the right picture there, those waypoints, those numbered circles, those are where the drone is actually going to stop and turn. But what a lot of people may not realize is, depending on your elevation or how high you're flying, it sees way more than that. So you could actually bring, if that's actually the line that you want to capture, you can bring those, you can bring that polyline in a lot more. And on a project that big, that might save you a battery. So, and if you're going after the 2D ortho, maybe you can go to 300 feet and not have so much side lap and overlap. So it's really just kind of about what you're really trying to get. Is it the facade of a building? Do you need to get obliques? Do you need to have, a point of interest? Do some orbits on it at different elevations. So really planning your flight has a lot to do with how you fly, how you manage your missions. So, and here with getting results and buy-in, I know that's what a lot of people are after, because you just might not have it and you have to convince people that you need it. And it's, it turns out to be kind of an ordeal for you to get this foundation, this groundwork going, so that you can have something like this to provide and actually help the project. So with time, with this HPP package and using, UAVs with our TK solutions, traditional layout of GCPs for accuracy could take a few hours to lay out and shoot with a total station or GPS. And then deliverable quality, you can get similar or better results if you're utilizing GCPs, and you can be confident in what is exported. Accuracy, point cloud, and the orthos, they are geolocated within centimeters of reality. The ease of use. Good planning leads to easy missions and little to no manipulation of the data. Your consistency, you utilize the same mission every time with a similar takeoff and edge one positioning. Your expectations or your buy-in, project teams realize results are accurate and have higher levels of confidence in the platform. And with money, all these characteristics, they lead to cost savings. So, and a lot of people ask about, UAVs and safety, but if you think about it, UAVs are the safest tool on the job site. There's no arguing that. If you look at accident reports, I mean, it's going to be a caught between. It's going to be it's going to be something, where somebody gets hurt doing something else. It's never, oh, I got hit in the head by a UAV today. So, it's really something that is safe, and it's not that expensive to have a UAV program. It's just not. And the value that it provides, it doesn't make sense if you're not doing it, if that makes sense. But the progress photos, doing things outside of the maps. Every time we do a mission, we also do photos and video at the same time. It just provides just a lot of visualization for our, for ourselves and for our clients. And Jackie, this one's you.
Yeah, I can handle this one. So at SkyCatch, we offer full stack solutions. So everything you see here is what Mark referred to as the HPP, which stands for the high precision package. So it's all in one box. It allows you to fly, process, and view your data. There's 2 workflows. You can view it completely on site without needing to go back to the office. And that's with the Edge One, which is right there on the tripod. This is an integrated GNSS receiver and edge compute module, which means you get your accuracy and positioning just like a typical base station, but you're also able to process the data from your flight directly onto the Edge One. So the workflow just requires you to insert the SD card from the flight out of the drone. Depending on how large of an area you have, you can get your data back in as little as 15 minutes, directly viewable on the provided iPad. And the workflow allows you to have the option to reproject the data into your site-specific local coordinates. And if you don't mind switching to the next slide. So we also have a cloud platform that allows for more collaboration and analysis of a lot of the examples Mark provided are around the ability to share information at scale and how it can improve communications, project timelines, and potentially avoid rework. And one of the keys to getting that value through this is that you're flying consistently, potentially daily, and sharing that project status. And what we've heard from our customers that's really compelling about this tool is, and especially as you're putting together your budgets for next year, is the fact that with this, you'll know exactly how much you'll spend each month, each year. It's a flat rate for each project with unlimited flights, uploads, and sharing. So you'll know exactly how much you're forecasted to spend when you have this solution. So I really appreciate everybody joining today. This is our contact information. And like I mentioned, what's really surprising about Mark is that he puts his personal email on there. You can actually message him directly for any questions you have, and really likes to share information with the group. So to better help your UAV process implementation, and to get a hold of us, we can be reached at sales@skycatch.com. Follow us on social media, and we will send you a recording after the webinar in case you miss anything. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And like I said, just get a hold of me if you have any more questions or things that maybe we didn't get a chance to cover, and look forward to hearing from you. Appreciate it, everybody.